Why am I running for mayor? I'm the middle of 5 kids. My dad graduated from Howe High School, my mom from St. Agnes. They met at the Butler Freshman Mixer. Myself and my 4 siblings all live here, and our families are all here. We've been invested in this community in lots of different ways, whether that's trying to grow business, whether that's service in the not-for-profit organizations that make a difference in this community, as well as having been actively involved in the Democratic Party for many years. My dad even back when he was in law school. So I'm running for mayor of Indianapolis because I believe where the city is today requires a fresh perspective for us to succeed as a community long term. I think the next mayor is going to have to understand an income statement and a balance sheet and how they work together. I think they're going to have to understand the capital markets and how they function, because the fiscal challenges that we are going to confront as a community are significant. What Governor Daniels has done in pushing government off to the local communities and providing the revenues to support it. What is happening with property tax caps when they go fully into effect, the estimates today are that $30 million will be lost in property tax revenue for the city of Indianapolis. That is a meaningful amount of money. As we all see every day or every month when the state releases its estimates on state revenues, those estimates shrink every month based on what the actual receipts are. Some dollars that fund city operations flow through the state, option income taxes, sales taxes. So we know that second big bucket of revenues that fund what we do in city government is not going to be the same size. It's going to shrink. And so it's incumbent, I think, on the next mayor to be able to identify creative, sustainable solutions to fill the gaps that the city's going to have in its fiscal picture. And we've got to do that in a way that generates revenue, creates an opportunity or amenity for the city of Indianapolis. So I think my experiences, going back to working for Evan Bayh when he was governor, and understanding how a government can operate efficiently and within its means, and I think my experiences over the last 15 years in building and growing companies here in Indianapolis give me a unique perspective amongst all those who have talked about running, of addressing those challenges from a fiscal standpoint. We have to have an honest conversation with ourselves about some of the challenges that we face. First and foremost is how we're doing on education. Whether you ascribe to the calculations that were released recently, that Indianapolis public schools graduate 48 or 49% of their kids, or other studies that say 30% of the kids graduate from IPS, in either instance, a 30% or 49% in a grading scale is still an F. There are some bright spots within IPS. Unfortunately, those bright spots are not bright enough for the majority of those kids. We as a community cannot survive long term when 70% or 60% of the kids don't graduate from high school. Those kids won't create a job, let alone hold a job. You have to go outside the borders of Marion County to find a high school that is graduating 90% of its kids. We can spend all the money we would like on BioCrossroads and Tech Point and Connexus, but those employers and those kinds of jobs won't hire kids who can't graduate from high school. So we as a community have to have a very sober discussion about what do we do. We're not the first city in the country to confront these kinds of challenges. We need to look at what has happened elsewhere. We need to understand what can be applied to Indianapolis, and we need to make some changes. We need to take some risks. We need to take some calculated risks. We need to be very clear in what the expectations are. We have to measure against those and report against them, and if they don't work, we have to be willing to change. If an employer looks at how we're doing as a community in educating our youth, and we fail consistently in that basic measure, an employer is going to really be skeptical about the quality of the workforce they're going to get. There's a whole separate discussion of what is the role of education. Is the role of education to educate a good worker or educate a good citizen? A good citizen will always be a good worker. A good worker is not always a good citizen. We need good citizens in Indianapolis. So again, I think we need to have pretty sober discussions about where are we going to make the investments as a community with the precious resources that we have. Education, I think, is a big one. Another one is what we do as a community for what I think we can globally call the sustainable nature of our city. Tie in with the fiscal picture of the city. They also tie in very clearly with economic development. Air quality, number one. We are an EPA non-attainment zone for air quality. For a long, long time, Marion County, the city of Indianapolis, was the economic driver for the metropolitan region. Because we're an EPA non-attainment zone, that engine of economic growth, Marion County, now has a governor or restrictor plate on it. You cannot build or expand a factory in Indianapolis today because we will not get the permits. Our businesses are unable to grow because we haven't been good stewards of our environment. So air quality, how do we improve the air quality? Water quality, whether it's coming out of the tap or what goes down the drain, we rank poorly on both of those. And I have frankly been disgusted of late to fill up a glass of water from my kitchen sink to have a drink, and it reminds me fondly of the swimming pool in August. I would never dip a pool or a glass into the pool in August and say, oh, what a cold, refreshing drink. To smell the chlorine that comes out of our taps today tells me very clearly we have not made the investments as a community. We have not set the expectations for that third party who manages our water system to not only meet but exceed the water quality standards. It is a basic obligation of the city to educate its youth, provide clean air and clean water, and provide a safe community in which to raise a family. We fail on too many of those basic metrics.